become part of that group that is
on that
on
point,
stage.
George W. Bush wasn't seen at all in public. It's very specific causes.
But when that Saturday after the election, when all the races were called, it was President George W. Bush who put out a statement congratulating President-elect Biden and calling President-elect Biden to congratulate him. What he understands is the role of a statesman.
And he put out that statement after the siege of the Capitol.
He was so emotional about things, and it tells a little story about his whole life. So I always refer to the relationship as one of head and one of heart. On the other hand, it was a perfect team. And if it was complete in that sense. And it was like everything else. I will say a lot of times presidencies and vice presidencies have some competition. That's just, to be honest, as a vice president starts to look on, you're talking about change, yet you want somebody who's loyal to you. I do think in this sense that they had a great friendship that ended with a great friendship.
There you see Colin Emhoff. Of course, they are the children of Doug Emhoff, now the second gentleman of the United States, husband of Kamala Harris. John, Carl, talk more about that relationship as well. You saw it. You covered both White Houses.
Absolutely. You know, one thing I thought watching George W. Bush walk down, followed by watching Barack Obama walk down, when Obama had to hand off the reins to Donald Trump, what he told his staff is that he wanted to follow the George W. Bush model of transitions. George W. Bush did everything he could to make a smooth transition for Barack Obama, gracious, and that's exactly what, even under those extraordinary circumstances following the 2016 election, handing off power to somebody who denied that he was even an American citizen, a legitimate president. Even so, Barack Obama opened up his White House to the new Trump team and told his top advisors that we're going to follow the Bush model. We are going to have a smooth transition.
There you see the Biden children, Hunter and Ashley Biden, are coming as well. Of course, Hunter was at the center of this campaign, under fire during the first impeachment trial of President Trump as he tried to make an issue of Hunter Biden's business dealings in Ukraine. Joe Biden, Cecilia Vega never walked away from the son he loved.
Oh, it's so much a part of who he is, and it's not lost that Beau Biden was 46 when he died, and Joe Biden will be sworn in as the 46th president of the United States, and it's still the one topic that brings him to tears, that he really gets emotional about it, and he's told people leading up to today that he believes that it could have been his son taking this oath of office today. And also, George, just quickly, I was struck by seeing Doug Emhoff's children walk in. You know, they call Kamala Harris Mamala. These are her children. This is their family. That when they were introduced to her for the first time, she was wearing her chucks. That this is, that they talk about her as being just the mom, the woman in chucks that they know, and yet they're still kind of weirded out by seeing their dad on television, on CNN, doing interviews. And of course, he is a lawyer and will be entering Georgetown Law School to teach there when they make the move here today to Washington.
Lindsay Davis, they met on a blind date. She Googled him beforehand. But I love the anecdote I was reading just a couple days ago. His first wife went to dinner with the two of them and said, "You made him a better man."
And she says that they have a great relationship. And her friend, by the way, had told her, don't Google him before that blind date. I did want to just point out the fashion because we saw, obviously, Hillary Clinton coming out in her purple pantsuit. Kamala Harris opting not to follow that fashion trend today. She is wearing a dress designed by Christopher John Rogers and Sergio Hudson. Christopher's a young black designer from Baton Rouge, currently lives in New York City. Sergio is a black designer from South Carolina. And Joe Biden wearing perhaps the most iconic American designer, Ralph Lauren, who had also dressed Hillary Clinton and Melania Trump in 2017. Also the second gentleman wearing a Ralph Lauren suit as well. And Dr. Jill Biden is wearing a blue wool tweed coat and dressed by emerging designer Alexandra O'Neill of Markarian, and very intentionally hand embellished by crystals and pearls to subtly reflect the light. I imagine that is meant both literally and figuratively.
He was talking about that yesterday, and there, of course, you see the current Vice President of the United States for another hour or so, Mike Pence and his wife, Karen Pence. John Carl, I think there was never any question, really, whether Mike Pence would show up today. Deep down, he is an institutionalist as well.
No question at all. He was going to be at this inauguration no matter what. He was a Trump loyalist, but he is an institutionalist. He took this role as vice president seriously, and part of the way he saw it was loyalty to the president, but more importantly, loyalty to the Constitution and loyalty to the traditions, American political traditions, and that's why he's here.
Mary Alice Parks, pick up on this as well. We were talking about where he fits in the Republican Party going forward, if at all, how the Republican Party moves beyond Trump.
You know, we were talking about seeing Senator Ted Cruz, and I don't think that Democrats view this impeachment as the only moment of possible repercussions for what happened with that riot. I think that they are dealing with the impeachment, but they have talked a lot about whether there should be serious repercussions for some of those senators that were engaged in perpetuating bogus claims about the election. And, you know, George Bush, too, in his statement about the insurrection, he said he was deeply disappointed with political leaders who were, again, just questioning a valid and fair election. So I think that this idea of consequences or of accountability does not stop with the outgoing president, but we're going to see a continued conversation about the future of some of those Republicans who want to continue to have a seat at the table in Congress.
Yeah, you know, you have people like Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz, former United States Supreme Court clerks, people who know the law and know the Constitution, who knowingly lied to angry and desperate people who had voted for the president, and they knowingly lied to them. That's what they did. They knew there was no way for Mike Pence to do anything on January 6th, and there needs to be acknowledged that that happened for two reasons. Because they were pursuing their own ambition, and they weren't doing a thing to try to help Donald Trump because they knew they couldn't.
You also had a solid majority of the House Republican caucus vote that way as well. This ceremony, boy, it's just hard as you look at it right now and just...
face coverings for all lay people. We've never seen that before, and to see it now in the setting of unprecedented deaths and an out-of-control pandemic and an inauguration is just really historic.
You see double masks there at times as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to see that recommendation as well with possibly an N95 on the inner layer and another outer layer. Some aerosol scientists saying that it does offer more protection.
And now?
Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of the United States, the Honorable Michael R. Pence and Mrs. Karen Pence.
Vice President Pence making his way out. You hear that applause there. As governor of Indiana when Donald Trump chose him to be vice president, resurrected his career at that time, paid him back with loyalty over 4 years, some would say to a fault, but a final break at the end. Mary Bruce, we're talking about signs of the times, not only masks on the faces of all those people on the steps today, many members of Congress wearing body armor.
George, just astounding and certainly a sign of the time. Some Democratic members are, we've learned, wearing body armor out here today underneath their coats. In fact, our reporter Ben Siegel spotted some Democrats greeting each other by sort of tapping on their chest, sort of a subtle acknowledgement that they are prepared. Because, of course, it was just 2 weeks ago. It's not just that they witnessed, this horrific violence. They were victims of it. So many who are here today to mark this transfer of power were themselves